If you are an aspiring SDR or BDR and you're trying to break into tech, you probably know how competitive the market is. First of all, it's miserable just to land an interview. And then once you're in the interview, you're kind of nervous because you know you're going against other people with more experience and maybe even a college degree if you don't have one. My name's Lukas Arellano and I landed a BDR tech sales job without going to college, having an internal referral, or any experience whatsoever. So if you've been in interviews and you're stuck on why you can't move on to the next round or even secure a job offer, then watch till the end and you'll have the perfect answer to the most common BDR tech sales interview questions. Here's some pro tips that you need to keep in mind when formulating your answers and going into these interviews. Number one, with every answer, you need to demonstrate that you have the skills, you have what it takes to succeed in the role, even if you don't have any necessary experience. You need to be money hungry, driven, competitive, trustworthy, coachable, creative, organized, resilient, and cooperative. I might have repeated a couple there. As I mentioned, even if you don't have the technical experience, these are the soft skills you need to perform on the job. So show them that you have these skills and you're gonna crush it in the interview. A pro tip within a pro tip, look inside the job description if you can't find traits that you need to have on the role, and you'll see what they're looking for specifically to that role, and you can kind of alter your interview answers to show that you have the traits they're looking for. Number two, always have a story to back up your claim to having a trait that is needed to succeed in the role. What do I mean by that? If you're gonna tell them you're driven, everyone's saying that in the interviews, and you need to show them, especially if you don't have experience, that you are driven based on your experiences. If they say, tell me about yourself, or why should we hire you, anything where you're saying I'm driven, you say, I'm driven. Here's a story of where I've shown I was driven and my past experience as a XYZ. And that will translate into this position and allowed me to crush it because I've proven to have that trait. Number three, towards the end of the interview, when you're asking the questions, when they answer your question, engage back with the answer they gave you before moving on to the next one. The reason why that's so important is when you're on the phone as a tech sales BDR, you're gonna get people to ask you questions. Or maybe you ask them a question, a qualifying question. If you ask them how many technical reps do you have in HR, and they say 10, and then you say, okay, how much revenue are you making? They're gonna be like, okay, this is scripted, and this is kind of irritating. It's not a natural flow in conversation. And so if you do that in the interview, it's a huge red flag for hiring managers. You're gonna do that on the job. And so if you ask them a question, how many reps are hitting quota this last quarter? And they say 5. They're like, wow, that's really exciting. I want to be on a team where everyone's succeeding because I'm extremely cooperative and competitive, which kind of leads into my next question. What's the culture like? Is it pretty a cooperative environment? See how it flowed very naturally? I didn't just switch right into it. And the fourth pro tip, before I go into the most common interview questions and answers, never say anything bad about your previous job or company in a job interview. This might lead them to thinking, shoot, he might be the problem, she might be the problem. They aren't very coachable, or maybe even we have the same problem here, they're not gonna fit in. So always make it about your larger aspirations instead of this company sucks because they hate management and they don't pay me enough. Now, here are the 5 most common interview questions they're gonna ask you in the tech sales job interviews, but there's a lot more that they may ask you. And if you're kind of feeling uncomfortable with these, I have a link below that you can click on. It's a free community, about 300 people in there. If you go to breaking into corporate and then pre-interview, I think it's section 8.2, you will see all the common interview questions and answers, a bunch of pro tips in there for you to follow, and you'll crush it if you memorize those answers. Number one, tell me about yourself. 5 things to know before answering this question. 1, you're in control for what they're gonna ask you in the rest of the conversation. 2, you're framing their perception of you with this answer. So you wanna be as concise as possible. You don't wanna be a rambler. If it's over 60 seconds, they're gonna roll their eyes back and not listen. Number 3, don't get too personal in this. Don't mention anything about personal life, actually. Focus on your previous and current experiences and relate it to the current role. And the 5th one, bring up any research you know about the company. Yeah, absolutely. So I have a background in customer-facing roles. I worked as a storefront sales rep at Levi's, where I exceeded my monthly quota by 120% every month on average for the past 3 years I've been there. I've also worked as a waiter, where I doubled my earnings by exceeding customer service expectations and earning tons of tips. And through those experiences, I realized a really big strength of mine is setting my mind to a goal and going above and beyond until I get there. Now, from the job description, I know you're looking for a driven self-starter, and that's part of the reason why I applied, because I know I'm exactly that. You know, I was super motivated by small bonuses at Levi's when I was a storefront sales rep, and that's what pushed me to lead the leaderboards and go above and beyond. And now for a fact, when I join your company, especially because of the uncapped commission structure, I'm gonna use that drive that drove me before to crush it even more on the job. Why sales? Look, this is a great opportunity to show off that you have any of the traits that I mentioned previously. Being driven, money hungry, resilient, literally anything on that list, you need to show them that you have these traits Be as concise and powerful as possible. Don't ramble on when they ask you these questions. Know what you're gonna say and drop the mic after you answer. It shows a ton of confidence. Yeah, so I'm really looking to plant my roots in a career where performance is directly tied to my earnings. Now, I know that sales comes with pressure to perform, but I actually prefer that because I really enjoy the ability to face challenges and push me towards success, if that makes sense. Now, I love that my paycheck is directly tied to the money that I bring my company, because if I'm bringing the company money, inevitably I'm helping the people that's paying for it, and selfishly, I'm making as much as possible. Just through my previous experiences alone, I've proven to myself that I have an unusual drive to succeed, and I'm looking forward to applying that drive to your company and outwork anyone to make as much money as humanly possible. Number 3, what's your biggest weakness? This question is so important to have memorized, because if they ask you this and you don't know what to say, it's gonna be really hard to come up with something on the spot. When they ask you this question, give them a weakness that's true about yourself, give them a solution that you're proactively working on it, and make sure it's not a weakness that will interact with your ability to perform on the job. If you're having trouble finding a weakness about yourself that won't interfere with your ability to succeed on the job, you can plug this prompt into ChatGPT and it will give you like 5 or 10, however you tell it to give you, potential weaknesses that you might have. Go through it and make sure you find one that's like relatively true for yourself so you can say it with your chest, say it with your heart, and not your brain. Here is the prompt that you can throw into ChatGPT. I'm just gonna throw it on the screen because I'm too lazy to try to memorize this or just read it off the screen. So here it is. If that was too quick, I'll also put it in the description below for you to copy and paste into ChatGPT. Now here's the perfect example answer. Yeah, great question. I would say my biggest weakness is public speaking. I don't know why, I've always been a supernatural conversationalist, but for some reason when I get in front of a stage and everyone's staring at me, I tend to get a little nervous. And also I just haven't had a bunch of opportunity to do that. I know that, through my experiences, the best way to learn is through failure and by pushing past your fears. So since then, I've taken up a bunch of opportunities to speak publicly. I also joined a Toastmasters class, so they're helping me get over that fear and be more comfortable on stage. And if really there's any opportunity to speak in front of the team, I'd be more than happy to jump on it. And if you have any pointers for me also on how to overcome that, I'm more than happy to listen. And kind of on that note, just so I can understand, what do you feel like are the biggest weaknesses in the sales reps that are kind of stagnant in their career? I wanted to throw that question in at the end so you can kind of see what I meant earlier with that pro tip of asking a question after an answer to make the conversation seem more natural. Number 4, hey man, you've done great so far, but tell me, I gotta ask you, why should we hire you? Look, I preach, show don't tell, because in every other interview question, you should be demonstrating that you have the traits to allow them to come up with the conclusion of this person has what it takes to succeed on the role without you blatantly telling them. However, for why should we hire you, you should be selling yourself hard, like really hard. So here's a perfect example answer. You should hire me because I will outwork anybody on the team. My results-driven mindset will allow me to put in more activity, and pairing that with what's already working with the top performers, I will get rejected more than anyone and learn faster than anyone. I know myself, just being goal-oriented, I'm gonna work based on inputs and outputs and not an hourly basis. What do I mean by that? I'm not gonna look at the clock and be like, okay, I have 1 hour left, I can't wait to wrap up my day. I'm gonna look at my goal for the month, see how far away I am from that, do the math on how many inputs and outputs I need to get to reach that goal, and not stop until I hit my goal. Number 5, why are you leaving your current job? What did I say earlier? Don't say anything bad about your current employer. You want to use this as an opportunity to convince them that you're going to stay there for the long run and not just jump ship after 6 months. Yeah, I actually love my team and my manager, and it's going to be really hard for me to walk away from them. However, I kind of have to put myself first in the situation. I have really big aspirations for my life in the next 10 years, and where I'm at just won't allow me to get there. I'm capped, there's really no career development opportunities, and the only way for me to make more money to get to my goals faster is by taking on more hours. I want to work for your company specifically because I read on Glassdoor, I spoke with some sales reps. A lot of people are hitting their quota and there's huge potential to crush my OTE, and I'm going to do that by bringing your company as much money as possible, and in the end, I'll be on the bottom end of that, racking it in. Now there's about 7, 8 more questions, maybe 10, that I would highly advise that you memorize. If you want them and the perfect answers to them and templates of how to guide your answer, check the link below. There's literally everything you need in there to break into tech, including these interview questions and answers, including cold call scripts, including email templates. It's everything you need. And you can find an accountability partner to do this with, and you have access to me. I'll DM you personally to see if I can help you. So I'll see you in the community below. Feel free to watch this video or click this button to subscribe to me. I hope I didn't do that backwards. Maybe it's this video, this button. But regardless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.